Live. This is a special edition of Socrates, Garret Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. In Mississippi, a state with less than 3 million people, where most of us know one another. A state that has a hard history, but we're looking for better days. And we're only going to get better days when we get better leadership. And so this show is dedicated to a gentleman that has given his entire life serving his community and working to make a difference here in Mississippi. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to go ahead and share this program with your friends and family and send us stars. If you're watching us on YouTube, then we'd love for you to subscribe to our program. Our YouTube channel is growing every day. If you're watching us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com, then we want you to share this program and hit the donate button. We need fuel to keep these kind of shows coming to you. And we're being seen all over the world in more than 139 different countries. Our analytics show that most of our viewers are in the state of Mississippi, but a great large contingency is in Georgia and Louisiana. We appreciate those that are following us out there each and every day. Now we're going to get right into our show because it's critically important. You know, Mississippi is ranked last in infant mortality. We're the most obese state in the nation. We're the poorest state in the nation. We have the highest incarceration rates of any state in the nation, more than in a third world country. So there is something wrong. And that something wrong has to be tied down to leadership. So my guest today, we're going to speak about leadership, his candidacy, and why he's offering himself up, and what his experience has been like on this campaign trail. And we're going to try to get inside of how he plans on making a difference. Now, I have with me also a young lady that I've known for a long time, a church member of mine. We go back for a long, long ways. She is no stranger to the field of politics. She's done a lot of work in this area and one of the sharpest, brightest people that you're ever going to find. She knows how to read the tea leaves. And so Dr. Pickett has done himself good to have her associated with his campaign in any way that she can do. Her name is Tony Johnson. And Tony, it's good to see you and welcome to We Believe Digital.
Thank you, Uncle Sock. I'm going to say Uncle Sock.
That's a good handle for me. I'm old enough, I've earned it.
You have, and
That's
we're going
right.
to pay homage because you paved the way and you still teaching us a lot. So
Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and who you are before we get to Dr. Pickett.
Well, Tony Johnson, you gave me a couple good titles in there while you were introducing me. Born and raised here in Jackson, educated through Jackson Public School Systems, reared in Hines County, got my bachelor's and undergrad from Jackson State in Belhaven. Grew up in church, Central Community Church of God, which was sisters to Farm Haven church out there where you're from, and
That's
so
right.
Had a very good rearing. I grew up, I tell people all the time, listening and watching Miss Olita, who I call her my shero, Pickett. From when I was a little girl, she would stand up in church challenging and telling us about the injustice of going on for children with the Children Defense Fund. When she would be traveling back and forth to Washington, D.C. and Mississippi, and she was a force to be reckoned with. And I said, God, if she's standing up telling them what's going on, she kind of inspired us. So no stranger to politics. People ask me, well, how did you get into it? I say it was just something I was born with. It's a gift and a curse. So had the opportunity to run political campaigns behind the scenes, hold public office. I tell people I'm a justice impacted individual. When you're on the front lines, you're vocal and you stand for what you believe in. You know, you have to take the good with the bad. But the most important part is if they try to knock you down, you don't stay down.
No, getting knocked down is part of it. You know,
it's getting part of
as
it.
Perry Harrington would say, you know, I like to taste a little blood.
Just a little bit.
And I've learned from Mayor Harvey Johnson that politics is the contact sport. So let's get on to Dr. Pickett, Dwayne Pickett.
Yes, sir.
You know, Dwayne, I've known you and your family now for quite some time, and your legacy of your father and your family throughout this entire state of Mississippi. So we got time. I want you to take some time and let our viewers out there know who you are, where you come from, and why you're in this race.
Well, Mr. Garret, I really thank you for even allowing me to come on. I am from Itta, Mississippi. I was born and raised in the Mississippi Delta, and grew up there and learned a lot there. Saw some of the best and some of the worst. Grew up on Mississippi Valley State campus where my parents were teachers and instructors. And but I graduated high school in Terry, Mississippi. We moved to Terry. My father took a job with IHL, and my family, my mother's family was there. My father's family was from Jackson. So it really was like a coming home. And it was from there that I went on and joined the U.S. Army, actually in my 12th grade year, the Guard, and went to college and ended up going to Desert Storm. But Mr. Garret, a lot of things for me was about how do I serve other people. My joining the National Guard in the 12th grade was about how do I serve my country, how do I serve other people, because I had seen my parents do that. I seen my mom work with little children in Florida County, one of the poorest counties in the state. And I'll never forget one particular experience of when she was taking board games and fruit to those children, and these children stayed in the backside of a cotton field in the middle of nowhere, just one house. And I'll never forget the look on those children's faces when my mom, we brought that fruit and those board games. And I saw an older child, instead of eating all of the fruit, hand it to a younger child. And something inside of me was born. Something happened to me that I believed that I had to live my life serving other people. And that's what I've been doing.
Now, let's go back to Itta for a minute.
Yeah.
Now, Itta is probably the poorest part of Mississippi.
Right.
In the 2nd Congressional District, that's where the largest segment of poverty is in the state of Mississippi.
Right.
Even though city of Jackson has some 40% of its population, and Hinds County has it as well, of its citizens in poverty. But now, you grew up in that area, and that is not far from Money, Mississippi, where Emmett Till was brutally slain.
Right.
And I'm sure, as a young man, you've seen a lot of things.
Oh, my gosh. Mr. Garret, I've seen some things that still shake me up right now. I mean, one in particular, I'll never forget the killing of 2 young black men. They were older than me, my brother's age, and we had just been playing pool the night before. And we get word that morning they've been shot right there on Highway 80 inside of a nightclub. And they used to clean that place up. But whatever happened, their lives could have been saved. But those that shot them allowed them to bleed to death before they called the police the next morning. Mm-hmm. Nothing ever happened. I saw a LaFleur County deputy shoot a black man in the back as he walked away. Nothing ever happened. He was unarmed. He died. Those kind of things I saw, man, the Klan. It was just an unbelievable experience to life for a young kid growing up in the 70s and 80s to even know that there were places that even in the 80s, Mr. Garret, right before we moved, there were places that we couldn't even go in and eat.
Well, now, we all have experienced the same thing. When you see this gray hair that I've earned,
yes, sir,
it means that I've seen some things.
Yes, sir.
I've lived through some things in Farm Haven, Mississippi, Tony, as you told the audience where I'm from. And I've seen all of those kinds of things. And the more that you've seen, the more committed you have become to try and make a difference.
Yes, sir.
And I think that pain that you carry every day from the things that you witness is one of the driving forces about who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. But now I think you went on to college.
Yes, sir.
What did you major in college?
Well, I actually went to college. I was majoring in physics.
Now hold it right there. Hold it right there. Now, I got a brother that is running for his life out of Itta, and he decides then that he wants to go to Tulu College and he wants to major in physics. And that's a testament to your parents.
Absolutely. And let me clarify one thing. So Charles went to Tougaloo, majored in physics, my older brother.
Okay.
And the year I graduated was a year that the young man fell out the dormitory at Tougaloo. And my dad wouldn't let me go.
Okay.
Because Charles and I had set such a reputation at Tougaloo, they had banned me off campus in the high school. So I actually went to USM. I was majoring in physics. Yes,
okay,
sir.
okay.
Yeah.
So both boys from your father and your mother as educators majored in physics.
Yes, sir.
And that again, I have no earthly idea what physics really is. It's beyond my pay grade. So I don't want to get into that. But I know you had to be bright, intelligent, and have a real sense of purpose to even attempt to do that.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's in my bloodlines. And I just loved it, actually, for what I planned to do. And as you know, I ended up going to Desert Storm. And when I went to Desert Storm, you know, when I joined the National Guard, we were supposed to fight hurricanes, not wars. But we were one of the first units to be over there. And, you know, war has a way of giving you a different perspective about life.
Yeah.
So I got hurt while I was there, but when I came back, you know, I got married to Tracy, and, you know, physics was not on my mind. I wanted to do something that wasn't going to have me stuck in the lab. I wanted to help people. My desire to serve had grown because I literally saw, Mr. Garret, I don't want to bore you with this, but I literally saw people from India that were working for the Saudis in Riyadh and Dhahran that were basically in slavery. Mm. And even then I saw this desire, how do I help Philip? There was one name, I never forget his face. How do I help him have a better life?
Wow. And so you have to have seen things in order to build an understanding and acquire wisdom in order to be an effective leader. You can't have always been in Mississippi to be able to share with them a vision, craft a vision that would elevate your constituency. So let's get to you, Tony. Now, you have decided to assist Pastor Pickett in his race. Now, what district is he running for? And tell me what you're encountering out there.
So he's in District 29, which is Hinds County, all of Hinds County. You've got part of Northeast Jackson. You've got South Jackson. You got the rural area, which I'm very near and dear to because parents grew up in Knoxville County. My dad's from Bolton. So when you deal with the rural area, you have to kind of handle them a little bit differently because you understand the disparities that they had then and quite frankly still have now in the district because they don't have their fair share according to what our standards are, not what the society or, you know, current people would say. So what we're encountering is a district that looks the same. And so I am assisting because I believe that we need a change. I believe that Dr. Pickett, even before working with him, I'm a product of the work he's done in his community. I'm a mother of one. My son started out early on at the preschool in New Jerusalem. When I was in college, I attended some of the church services. So we've always known of New Jerusalem and what he's put into the community. And so I just told him it's time to take that Christian leadership and put it on the policy side because we're not going to change what's going on until we change the leadership. You change the leadership, you can change policy, economic development, and we believe that he's the person to do it. And so in the district, we see despair and poverty. We don't see what's in Belhaven and Fondren, in Dry Grove and in Terry, or in Battlefield. Okay? So we see that there are issues in pockets of where people are going underserved.
Wow. So Pastor, she mentioned that her son came to New Jerusalem. You a pastor. How many campuses?
3 campuses.
Okay, where they located?
168 Colonial Drive, 1285 Raymond Road, and 5708 Old Canton Road, and then of course online. So it's actually 4 campuses. So we have a pretty robust online membership. It's a new day, you know.
Okay. So conflict in your midst. I mean, how we always get to the separation of church and state, things of that nature. How do you see a pastor being able to deal with the backroom bad deals that have been made in Mississippi forever?
Well, one, I think, you know, understanding, I've always understood ministry from a holistic standpoint. spiritual, mental, physical, social, emotional, so forth, right? Secondly, understanding that the impact and influence of my faith should have influence on every part of society, whether we're talking about the financial, whether we're talking about economics, whether we're talking about education, whether we're talking about political, so forth and so on. So there's no conflict for me in that regard. Believe it or not, much of what Jesus fought was political. It was a system set up to continue to lift up the haves and to push down the have-nots, right? When you talk about Daniel, when you talk about Moses, when you talk about all of these leaders we find in the Bible, we find them involved in a system that had to be changed, had to be shifted. You know, when you start talking about kingdom, and I don't want to preach a sermon, but when you start talking about the kingdom, you know, he said it should be on my shoulders. In other words, we have to make sure that we are impacting and influencing every sphere of society with that which we believe.
Now, Tony, you're taking on a 16-year incumbent, a gentleman that is of the white persuasion. Mm-hmm. He's Caucasian. Mm-hmm. In a predominantly African-American district that he's held for 16 years. What makes you think you can unseat a white man in Mississippi in a black district?
Well, power is, what's the old saying? Power is never conceded, it's taken. You can't just go in there, they're not going to give it away. You got to go in there and take it. We're fighters. And part of the fight is helping our people understand what equity and fairness looks like, because we'll say, oh, you know, we got someone of a different color, they've been there 16 years, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But when you ask them directly the impact that this elected official or the office they hold has had in their lives and their community, they can't tell you anything.
So what did this gentleman do to draw your attention that he needs to be replaced?
So I believe in being very transparent. I tell people back in 2021 that the state of Mississippi, nothing outside of Mississippi, people don't understand. Everything here is about race because of the dynamics in the makeup we have. So it may be, some stuff may be more highly driven about race than others, but everything is about black and white. And I get in trouble about that. People, it's not always about race. It's about race. Yeah. We're in the state of Mississippi. But education and educating persons on disenfranchising crimes. These things that I just talked about, Pastor Pickett, you know, directly impact the black community. We have the most disenfranchised people in the state of Mississippi who have lost their rights to vote versus whites or Caucasian. This particular legislator voted for that bill to pass.
Wow.
Which meant he sided with current governor and other Republicans saying, we don't have a problem in Mississippi. We don't need funds to help educate people, to help register people to vote. So I said, now, if you're a Democrat, you serve a majority black district, and you voting against rights that directly impact black people, are you in?
Senator David Blunt voted for.
He voted for that bill. He voted to prevent, and it passed, any private money to come into the state of Mississippi to specifically help with voter education, voter registration, and talk about and educate people on disenfranchising crimes. Now, he said that he voted against it because there was an election commissioner stealing. Well, we went to trial in 23 of this year. That bill passed last year. Wow. So we believe in innocent until proven guilty, and that everyone has to go through the process that's available to them, and that's their legal right. So if you're voting for that, and that's a direct slap against us, then what else are you doing?
Right, and many times our communities don't understand how our elected officials are voting and what they're voting for. Now, we're up against a station ID, and so we're getting ready to take a break. But when we're going to come back, we're going to talk to candidate Dwayne Pickett. He's running for Mississippi Senate in District 29. The election is August 8th in the Democratic primary. He's running against an incumbent that has held this position for 16 years. The district is predominantly black. Here we are in Mississippi. Once again, we find ourselves fighting to try and make a difference in our communities where we played by all of the rules. Pastor Pickett has gone, got a good solid education. You heard him say that he majored in physics, went down to USM. served in the Army in Desert Storm, came out as a veteran that was injured in that war as well, has given his life creating opportunities for young folk. His church has probably got more young people in it than any congregation throughout the entire state. I've gone to the services. I know what I'm talking about. When we come back, we're going to talk about House Bill 1020 and the impact that it has and the impact that crime is having in Mississippi. Well, we are ranked as the #1 most dangerous city in the country. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mike is off. I'm going to play about